Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything from hair to fashion to skincare products. We'll talk about the latest trends in makeup, hairstyles, and anti-aging remedies. And we'll cover all of the newest fashion trends. If you have an interest in or questions about the beauty and fashion trends that might work best for you, the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast has got you covered.
Hey there, and welcome to the GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast, hosted by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am one of your hosts, Becky, coming at you with all things alternative beauty. And in my last episode, I talked a little bit about starting a series called Alternative Exploration. And today I wanted to continue that thought process and bring you another kind of facet of alternative beauty, alternative fashion, alternative culture. In my last episode, I had talked about rockabilly culture, 1950s inspired fashions and makeup. And today I wanted to go in kind of a completely opposite direction of rockabilly, and that is rock and roll / punk fashion, makeup, all of that. And what I mean by that, because this is definitely a style that I gravitate towards depending on the day. I usually gravitate between a more gothic feeling to my looks versus something that's a little more punk or grunge. So this is definitely a style that is near and dear to my heart. And in my mind, I'm inspired a lot when I'm in this frame of mind by rock and rollers in particular, and we'll be talking about her later on in the podcast, is Lzzy Hale, the lead singer of Halestorm. I think she has an incredible sense of fashion and makeup, and she got a pixie cut like the same week that I got a pixie cut, so I feel very connected to her. But I think she's killing it in the beauty game, and I think she should be recognized for that, and two, she is definitely somebody that inspires me with her music and her looks when I'm creating my own kind of alternative look to go out with. And so in my experience, rock and roll or punk usually consists of leather jackets, leather pants, denim, and a lot of distressed fabric. In terms of accessories, I think you see a lot of safety pins and studs, definitely a lot of cool tones and silvers in terms of jewelry and such. And I think one of the really interesting things about rock and roll or punk is that there is definitely a hard edge to things, studs, safety pins, they're all very pointed, and it's a very kind of aggressive fashion, but I find that most of the people who dress in this way are some of the kindest people that you'll ever meet. It's usually just that this is how they feel most comfortable, this is how they want to express themselves, and kind of pride, and kind of with pride show the world, like, this is who I am. Like, I am putting who I am on the inside, on the outside, but I will help you change a tire, or I will help you save that kitten from a tree, or I will give you directions. So in my experience, while they may look scary or, maybe threatening, they are some of the nicest people that you will ever meet. And I think for me, personally, there's this rebellious aspect to this fashion, and I'm definitely somebody who doesn't like to be told that I can't do something, and I definitely feel rebellious in that sense. So in dressing like this, it almost feels like a rebellion of, what society dictates as beauty, and or kind of flipping the script on what beauty should be, which excites me. So if you are interested in dressing like a rock and roller or a punk, here are some lovely sites that you can go to for either fashion inspiration or to purchase some rad looks. So the first store that I wanted to mention is called Killstar, and they have an online site that is both American and the UK. So you pick, where you're from when you first get there. And one of the things that I really love about this store is, one, everything is black, and two, I think their designs are really interesting. They have a wide array of, different takes on things. So they have like a hoodie, but instead of it being a normal hoodie, it's, a little bit longer. It's kind of a tunic. It has longer sleeves with thumb holes in it. The hood is cut a little bit differently. So it's just a fun kind of twist on things. My personal favorite on this site is their accessories. I am someone who loves a good statement bag or like a weird bag. I have both a coffin-shaped bag with a bone handle and a poison bottle bag, which is just a small box with a poison label on the front. So I'm definitely one for a statement bag. And Killstar has some really fun ones on their site. Actually, right now they have one that looks like a juice box or a milk box, and it says Goth Milk, and it's so cute, and it has a red lining on the inside. It has little red accents on the outside, and I think it's just so adorable. And it's definitely something that if you're walking down the street with, you're definitely going to get stopped by someone to just like ask where you got that bag, because it's just so fabulous. And additionally, if you follow a lot of alternative Instagrams like I do, you're more than likely to have seen the coffee tumblers that say things like "My enemy's tears" or "The moon made me do it," and those are from Killstar. They're usually in a matte black. They're super stylish. And definitely reusable, so helping to save the planet, which is always good. So definitely a store that you want to check out, especially if you're into some really great shoes, some really great accessories, and some more supernatural graphics in terms of, what's printed on their shirts and things. The second store that I would recommend is called Punk Rave. It has an online shop that you can go to. And one of the things that I noticed in, doing my research and getting a couple reviews before, advising myself was that Punk Rave is kind of known for having pretty durable clothing. Unfortunately, I think in a lot of alternative brands, these things are made to look really great, but they're not really meant to last. Like I had mentioned, I have a coffin-shaped purse, and I love it to death, but I can't wear it all the time because it is falling apart. And it really started falling apart like month 2 because I was using it every day. So the one thing that really stuck out to me about Punk Rave is that a lot of their clothes are really well made, and the material feels like it's going to last for a while without me having to intervene and repair it or re-sew something. It's just really well built, and I also like the overall styles that they have on here. Punk Rave for me feels like they have a little bit of something for everyone who's into alternative fashion, and so whichever facet you feel like you belong into, there's something for you on the Punk Rave site. And then the last store that I would recommend is a site called Dolls Kill. And what's fun about this site is that it does carry other brands as well. So it does have a section where you can shop for Killstar. There's a section where you can shop for Punk Rave. And they have a wide variety of brands that they, I guess, are partnered with, but can sell other people's brands on their site as well. They also have quite a diverse selection in terms of what kind of clothes and things that they have on here. Because while they have, maybe quote unquote more traditional alternative or goth or punk styles and patterns and things like that, they also have a little something for, there's more sparkly things, there's just a little bit more variety when it comes to this site in particular. For example, on their website right now, because it is close to Christmas, they have a lot of really cool statement bags for Christmas, but they also have like dinosaur bags, Christmas tree bags, and then you also have like your stereotypical black bags, clear bags, crossbodies, things that are more in the realm of, quote unquote, stereotypical fashion as of now, as to what is, societally popular. So I think that the site is really cool if you're looking for a little more diversity than the other two that I had mentioned, because a lot of what's on the other two sites is a lot of black. It's a lot of edgier, I would say, content. So if you're looking for something, to kind of explore on, if you are just, starting to figure out that you are more into alternative beauty, but you don't know quite where you're thinking you want to land, that's probably a good place to start, just to even get an idea of, oh, I like this, I'm not a fan of that, and it'll kind of help guide you towards, what speaks to you. And, on top of that, you don't have to land on one certain thing. I mean, like I had said, I flip-flop back and forth between, more goth, more punk, more grunge. It just really depends on the day. And on that note, I'm going to take a quick break. And when I come back, we're going to be talking about a little makeup challenge I gave to myself, as well as a Halestorm inspired look. Stay tuned.
The GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast, hosted by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am again, of course, your host, Becky, coming at you with all things alternative beauty. And in our first segment, we talked a little bit about rock and rollers, rock and roll fashion, punk, that whole kind of facet in terms of alternative beauty. And for this segment, I wanted to challenge myself to create a makeup look inspired by one of my favorite rock and roll women in the game today, and that is Lzzy Hale of the band Halestorm. She is the lead singer and guitarist, and she's just amazing. I love her so much, and she's such an inspiration to me because she's really just living her dream, living her best life. And if you have not heard her voice or her band, I would definitely recommend checking them out if you are into, kind of old school rock, a little bit of metal, and just amazing female vocals. So for my look today, I challenged myself in that Lzzy Hale had posted a picture on December 4th of her doing her makeup before her show. And it was something that I was interested in because it's not something that I would normally pick for myself. She did this really cool smoky eye with yellow, and a bold red lip. Yellow is definitely not a color that I reach for. I have 2 yellow colors in my whole repertoire of colors in my palettes. So it was something that caught my eye immediately and was something that said, this will be a challenge for you. So I started this look the way I start all my looks, and that is with my normal foundation and contouring routine, a little bit of concealer under the eye, and then I went in with my Jeffree Star Cosmetics Jawbreaker palette. I knew that I was probably going to be using this palette because it has yellows in it, and it's the only palette I own that has yellows in it. And I started to do the eyes by dipping into the shade Wow, which is just kind of a classic sunshine yellow. It's a matte shade. And I just put that all over the eye and a little bit in the crease just to kind of start as a base. Then once the yellow was pretty much laid down everywhere I wanted it, I went into the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette. And I love this palette because it's nothing but cool tones and neutrals, and so it's a solid palette in my mind. And I went in with the shade Dystopian, which is a really great dark cool tone brown, and I just started to blend that into my crease and kind of create almost like a C shape from my lash line up into my crease, just to kind of make everything seem really seamless. I then went back into the Sultry palette and took the shade Noir, which is just a classic matte black. This is a really great black. Sometimes blacks can be a little patchy, but this is a really great one. And I took a small liner brush and just kind of went over my lash line on my top and kind of flicked it out at the end to kind of meet up with the rest of the kind of C shape that I was mentioning before, and then blending the end of that into the brown that I already put down, which will make your brown look darker, obviously, because it's black. I will say be careful with the black. I had a panic because I had placed the black in the wrong spot at one point and had a mini panic, but we blended it back and we were good. But but once the line was there, once I had blended it a little bit, I took a little bit more of Dystopian and Noir and continued to kind of very lightly blend that into the crease, but also making sure that the yellow was still a really predominant aspect of the eye. And once all of that was blended together, I went back into the Jawbreaker palette and I dipped into the shade Lemon Drop, which is a shimmer yellow. It's kind of got a buttery yellow feel in comparison to Wow. And I just took Lemon Drop and went over the yellow that I had already placed, just to give it a little more dimension and really kind of make the look pop, I think. There's definitely nothing wrong with a little shimmer in my mind. And because this was already a challenge to me, I figured I could do a little bit of interpretation in the looks with the products that I had already. So once Lemon Drop was on there and I was feeling pretty good about the look, but I didn't feel as though the black eyeshadow as kind of a substitute liner was dark enough for me. So I took a liquid liner and basically lined my lids as I would normally with a very small wing, and then immediately took a brush and started blending that to high heaven, basically to kind of merge it with the look so that it didn't look like a harsh black line and then makeup underneath of it. To tie kind of everything together, looking at the photo, it doesn't look like she is wearing false lashes in the photo, so I went with natural lashes just with a little bit of mascara. I was using the Better Than Sex mascara by Too Faced, which I gotta say is really great. And then lastly, she has this really bold red lip in the photo, and I had used a bold lip in my last look, which was an Everlasting liquid lipstick by Kat Von D. And I didn't want to use the same product twice. So I actually used a Jeffree Star Cosmetics Velour Liquid Lipstick in the shade Poinsettia, which is a metallic bright red. It's definitely a Christmas red, but I think it really matched the red that she has in her look. So I was pretty happy with it. As always, I will be posting the photo of my finished look, as well as the photo that I use as a reference from Lzzy Hale. You can follow her on Instagram. Her handle is official Lzzy Hale. It should be noted that her name is spelled Lzzy rather than Lizzy or however else. So you can definitely follow her. It's official Lzzy Hale. She's always posting some really great rock and roll / alternative looks. And again, as I said, her voice is incredible. So definitely go check her out. And on that note, I'm going to take another quick break. And when I come back, we're going to be talking about being tall and embracing that tallness. Stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast, hosted by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am again your host, Becky, coming at you with all things alternative beauty. And in our last segment, we talked about a little makeup challenge that I gave to myself. Overall, I think it was kind of difficult, but also really fun. And in this segment, I wanted to talk a little bit about embracing your height. Now, I'm definitely what you would call a tall girl. I'm, 5'7", and I tower over all of my friends, who usually are somewhere between 5'6" to 5'3". So I'm definitely the tall one in the group. And for me personally, this was something that I really struggled with for a long time. Because I wanted to be, and there are days where I still want to be, short and petite. And that's just not what my body is. It's not what my body is ever going to be. And it took me a long time to kind of come to terms with that. And it's still kind of a struggle for me to embrace my height. But it gets a little better every day. And honestly, it's not something that necessarily bothers me anymore. It's something that I've come to terms with, in that I will wear heels when I go out with my friends, and I'll wear my tall heels when I go out with my friends, because even though I look like a giant, I feel so great when I put on like my favorite pair of platform heels. So as a tall girl, I do realize that it's kind of an interesting place we're in, because I think mainstream media has said that women should be shorter than men, or women should be, again, tiny and petite. But that kind of excludes a whole grouping of women who are over, 5'3", and have different body types. And as a taller person, you kind of have to come to terms with that on your own and make peace with it on your own, and which can be a process, and is definitely something that, is a journey that you have to go on. I think a lot of people who are tall have to have this conversation with themselves, but I am here to tell you wear the heels. Because I don't think being tall should be a deterrent for anybody. I mean, I think if you're afraid that by being too tall, you're going to scare away, potential partners or potential friends, that's just not the case. And again, it goes back to this idea of what makes you feel confident. And if wearing a really great pair of heels is something that does that for you, then please do it, because you're going to radiate positive energy just by doing it. And just by feeling good about yourself. There's definitely something to be said about being around someone who is confident and is happy with, the way that they look and the way that they feel in that moment, whether it be through outside circumstances or, what kind of lipstick they use that day. So from one tall girl to another, just wear the heels. I would challenge you to not see your height as a negative thing about you, but rather as a fun compliment to who you are. So not only do you rock, and not only are you beautiful, but you're also, an Amazon goddess. And on that note, I also wanted to bring up the fact that two of my favorite rock ladies, Lzzy Hale, who of course we had done our makeup challenge based off of, is 5'8", 5 foot 8 inches, and she is rocking those huge stiletto boots, and really owning that. And it makes her either just as tall, if not taller, than pretty much all of her bandmates. But that is not stopping her from wearing them. And actually, so Lzzy Hale is 5'8", and Taylor Momsen, who is the lead singer of The Pretty Reckless, she's also 5'8". And both of these women, I did not know how tall they were until I looked it up. And it instantly gave me a confidence boost, because I'm like, wow, they're really tall, and it's not letting them it's not stopping them from doing what they want to do and being who they want to be. Because I think for a lot of tall people, myself included, I think there was definitely a period in my life where I, was slouching more. I didn't want to emphasize the fact that, like, my boyfriends were as tall as me, or I was taller than them. I did not want to emphasize my height in any way, shape, or form. So seeing these, really successful rock and roll women, choosing not to hide their height really makes me happy and excited, and inspires me to also take, a look in the mirror and say, yeah, I'm tall, and like, that's okay. And that's just a part of me, and embracing that part of me. So as I've said before, just go out and wear the heels, because you're gonna love it, and you're gonna feel so great about yourself. So that is all I have for you today. As always, I am your alternative beauty host, Becky, here on the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast, hosted by the GSMC Podcast Network. I will be back soon, but until then, you can check out our social media pages. We have a Facebook page under the name Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast, and we are also on Twitter with the handle GSMC_beauty. And also, if you have the time, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. A nice comment always really helps us out. And you can also let us know how we're doing. Let me know how I'm doing. And I can't wait to talk to you guys again next time. I'll see you then. Bye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network, from health and wellness to entertainment and life and happiness to sex and relationships. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast.